appreciate that's probably not what you needed at this stage of the competition?
No. No, I mean, you don't ever want to lose at home. Yeah, and it's not that. I mean, as I said to the players now, we're better than that. We didn't play particularly well in the first half. Came back nicely in the second half. I thought that sort of first 18 minutes in the second half was the way we wanted to play. And then we got a red card, which obviously it's difficult. But, you know, I can still say that we were in the game until the last play of the game with 14 men, which says a lot for the fighting spirit that they showed, you know. And, you know, take nothing away, Munster won the competition last year and they beat Stormers in Cape Town, which no one's got right. So they are a quality team.
Yeah, you stood up against them with 14 guys and for 20 minutes before they scored their third try.
Correct.
So, that was...
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they're a good team, and I say it again, you know. I sort of said pre-game, and it's just fact. I mean, JF's 19, guy played against is like 34, you know. Ambrose is 26, the guy played against is 36. You know, Gerard scrummed against the guy is 26, the guy's 36. You know, when you look at the caliber of player they have, literally the whole squad are international players as well. But that saying, I mean, I still think we're good enough to beat them. I still think we play properly, we're good enough to beat them. But you've got to give credit to, I mean, they, as I said, they've come here twice now to South Africa and beaten Stormers and Bulls, which means they've generally got the recipe right for, you know, for beating South African sides. In South Africa, exactly. You know.
Jake, are you
Yes.
able to point, firstly, good evening and sorry for the loss. Are you able to point out what that recipe is that they're getting right? Because I mean, they 7 consecutive wins, 8 consecutive wins, I mean, against that South African teams. So clearly they found formula that works.
Yeah, I think I suppose it's just like what I said, they've got experience, you know. You got Captain of Ireland playing there, you know, you got R14 Snyman's won a World Cup. I think he's won 2, hasn't he? He's won 2 World Cups. You know, in their forward pack, and you know, you look at, you know, a guy like Conor Murray's played for the British and Irish Lions more than once. And I think that's, you know, when you look at, and it's, again, it's part of the growth of our squad. You take out Marcel and Marku and Ruan Nokia. I mean, all of a sudden we look a little bit young, and I'm talking about in terms of game feel and experience. And that's what they've got. I think they're very composed. You know, at one stage we were 10-7 up, didn't look like they were panicking. You know, and before you knew it, we were 17-10 down, literally in the last sort of 10 minutes of the first half. So that's what good teams do. And good teams will get to the back end of the first half and put you under the pump. So yeah, I mean, I think it's just, I keep repeating myself, I suppose, and say to you that we need to grow. You know, it's not pleasant because I mean, you want to win and you want to. But you can't buy age and you can't buy experience. That's the old adage in sport. And they're good at it. They're very good at understanding. You know, they went today with Conor Murray to start as opposed to, you know, the other halfback, and that was, I suppose, to play a certain way, and it worked for them. You know, put us under pressure with the way they kicked, slowed the game down tactically very well. So we probably didn't, you know. We probably didn't use the environment in terms of altitude and the way we wanted to play as well as we should have.
Jack,
Coach, I just remember 4 instances where Munster were able to turn the ball over on the ground. Do you think you guys could have done anything better, or is it just they're more efficient when it comes to the breakdowns?
Well, look, I think a couple of times I saw their hands on the ground too, you know, which was a little bit frustrating. But you've got to adapt. You know, I mean, if that's, you know, even the last turnover, you know, their hands would pass the ball and they turn it over. But as I said, they're a quality team, lots of experience. Probably realised that they can get away with the way they were defending at the breakdown, and they did it well. You know. And then, you know, then you're on the back foot again because you defend and you defend and you defend and. When you've got 14 men at the back end of a game, you know, it's quite. You think altitude and playing at altitude and at the high felt counts in your favour, but when you're playing with 14 men for 20 minutes, then all of a sudden that advantage you have of playing at altitude is probably equal.
How much have you learned about this group, especially those young loose forwards going into the game against Ospreys?
Well, look, I'm going to have to rethink about just the whole performance. I don't think it's only 3 guys there. I mean, the bottom line is, I'll have a look and see how we're going to take the next step. But it's not a case of the 3 loose forwards take any brunt of it. I mean, there were times I thought the loose forwards were really good tonight, and there were times where I thought we missed Marcel and Marco, for certain things that they bring to our squad. So, but we'll regroup on Monday. I mean, we're still alive in the comp, guys. I mean, I get the feeling people are, walking around. It's got to hurt that we lose, and it's got to be something we motivate ourselves for Monday's training session. But we're still alive. I mean, we've won semi-final away in a competition against Leinster. So who knows who we're going to have to play and how many games we're going to have to play away. And the first priority of playing in these comps is to get to the back end of the comp when you got knockout rugby, and that's different.
Okay. Jake, you mentioned the first half not going particularly well for you guys, and it kind of sounded like you pointing the finger at game management a bit. Especially those last 10 minutes when they scored 10 points. I mean, you had a couple of opportunities to actually clear out of your 22.
Correct.
And I mean, it's just
exactly, Ken. We've got a great turnover, and then we try to move the ball, and Wilco knocked it on. No, it's not his fault. I mean, we got a great turnover. We got the ball back after they were pounding in our line, and then we go and give them a scrum back there again. So that's not how we've been. I mean, we've really been quite good at understanding, of how to get out of our half. And tonight we weren't. We put ourselves under pressure a couple of times. That scrum actually led to a try. So yeah, I mean and then right on half time, knocking the ball out of the Nine's hands, that's another 3 points. Now if you take 10 points, then we're in the game. So I suppose I'm just frustrated because that's not how good we are, and I think the players understand that. So it's no use me telling them something they don't know. We've played better than that, and we will play better than that.
Did you feel that start to the second half was really good?
Yeah, I thought
card, you looked like you had
correct. I thought we were actually getting back into the game, and they started. I got the feeling they were hanging on a bit, and had that try been given, and the ref would have thought that it was a rugby incident, then all of a sudden we 4 tries in, looking like we're getting on a bit of a momentum. And I think you've heard this ad nauseum from many coaches. Margins are so small. Margins are, sometimes you get the rub of the green, sometimes you didn't. So there's no use saying, what happened there and what could have happened there, because it didn't happen there. So we just got to make sure Monday we get to work, and we've still got 4 games, and within those 4 games we still can create pressure at the top of the log. And that's what we've got to do, is try and finish as high up as we can and give ourselves a fair crack at whoever we play in the quarters and the semi-finals, that we're going to be good enough.
Jake, just in terms of gamesmanship, I mean, they were in the ref's face at every single stoppage, etc. You guys, maybe you talk a lot about paying school fees. Maybe you guys are a bit naive there as well.
Yeah, we were. Man, I heard him at one stage. I don't know if you guys had a voice my thing, but he was giving them the gears for shouting at him, and so obviously that was one of their tactics. Medic on the field all the time, every time too, and again that's part of their tactic as well. But that's. You miss caliber of 2 captains didn't play today. You miss that sort of calm head in those pressure situations. And I needed one of the guys that's been around to go to the ref and go, listen, what do you think? Because that's what the really good and experienced captains do, Brendan. But they're a quality team. They won this competition. They consistently always in the top of most competitions they play in. And I think every guy in their squad, except for Frisch and Nankerville, are international players. So it's a hell of a different makeup to their squad than where we are at the moment. But still, that doesn't mean that that we can play like that and think we're going to win.
Other thing is, I mean, and I won't mind if you sidestep this one as well.
Yes.
2 weeks ago, we had Luke McGrath taking Kirtley in the head,
Yeah.
yellow card. Tonight, Chris in the red, the other one's a rugby incident.
Yes.
I don't blame supporters if they don't know what's
Yeah.
a red card anymore.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you feel.
Well, exactly like that. I mean, I think that's the. Yeah, I mean that's why I said it's such a difficult one, because I understand they're trying to make the game, and it's true, they're trying to make the game safer. They don't want concussions. That is the way. So there's no 1 week. You might be fortunate where a referee says, look, that was a rugby incident, or like that one was a yellow card, even though that he knocked Kirtley like that. Sometimes you got to take the rough with the smooth. That's so. I mean, I definitely think it changed the outcome of the game. I think it definitely made the game turn a different angle. And that's sometimes had that been later on in the game and we were far ahead, then people don't see the importance of that. That's what makes it so hard for a coach, so difficult for a coach, because you almost sense there's certain key moments in a game that if they go for you, if they don't go for you, then you could end up winning or losing a game. Which these as I said just now, Brendan, margins are so small. It was again they were on the trip on Kirtley when they try to step some guy. 2 weeks ago you might have said that's a trip, that's a yellow card. There was a time where they tackled Kirtley high in one of those carries that he had 2 weeks ago. Maybe they would have said, listen, let's have a look at that again. But that I think at the end of the day, I think you probably get some and you lose some, and you've got to accept that.
And I was just going to say, because it was a pity, because to me it was almost like Bruce was probably playing his best game since he's been here.
He was. Yeah, he was. I mean, But I mean, as I said, I mean, he came running. The guy was trying to pass the ball upright as a 9. I wonder if that 9 was down passing, whether he would have defended that differently. But you can't change it. I think at the end of the day, it's just another hearing this week, which is also disruptive. Last week at a hearing with Cameron, this week, that's the thing also which detracts from preparing properly for the week. Queens beat Dale.
Yes, and JP
Okay.
Demolished by Alphys.
No, not demolished. 39-26. You folks left early. You left early. It was 39-7. Then it was 39-26. Oh, did they? Okay.
Jake, are you worried about a cessation of momentum? It's now 2 consecutive losses. Understandably so, the losses up north are different, but losing a home game at this point of the season.
Yeah, it isn't ideal. We want to win home games. I mean, it doesn't matter who we play against. But I mean, there's teams that have lost at home and gone on to win the competition. So, that's the thing that I take take confidence out of. We're still alive. Had we lost, early on and it didn't have points in the bank, then maybe now it would be really more pressurized for us, because we would want to make the playoffs. But we're still alive, and I mean we didn't play well, and that's the nice thing about it. We play better than that, and so my job and our job as coaches is to make sure we get it right next weekend.
One more from me. Lolo said, Courtney Laws also had a fair go. The what inverted commas, the gamble.
Yes.
To take the opportunity to.
There's no gamble, guys. I'm going to share with you. If I'd taken the other team there and we hadn't won, I probably would have been under more pressure. So the point is, it's got nothing to do with, because you took that team and not this team, and you rested these guys, or you didn't play these guys, or you should have risked the injured guys that are left at home. I'm 100% confident that it made absolutely no difference. In fact, it probably highlights the fact that because these guys are such a good team, you cannot have the arrogance of playing the same team back and forth, flying, with injuries back and forth. It probably reinforces everything I did think, is that I knew it was going to be one of those tough games, and I didn't want to not give ourselves a chance to get a result in both. And that's very important, a result in both. I didn't go there thinking we could lose to Northampton and therefore put all my eggs in one basket. I genuinely thought by keeping players fresh, I actually did a thing when I got home on the weekend, and we played almost the same side against Bristol, and we played almost the same side against who was the other guys? Leon, and we won both. So that's also where people forget. We took 85% of that team, 90% of that team that played against Northampton, and they won both those games. So, yeah.
Jake, saying that we're at the business end of the competition and everything, will we see a change in attitude of player management and picking the best team at every match? Because every match you said you must win.
Yeah, but also not that. I mean, I think sometimes your hands forced as well. It's easy to. He has example with Jan Goosen. I mean, obviously, ideally, we'd like him to play him from now on. But if he has to sit out a few games, then you got to pick accordingly. So we're not in the luxury now of being able to not try and get wins going into the back end of this competition. And see the Munster coaches here, and he would know better than last year. They were the same situation, and they had to fight for their lives. Got wins at the back end of the comp, and ended up winning the competition. So I suppose what I'm trying to say to you is we're going to have to pick what we need to pick to make sure we get results in the next couple of weeks, because we still want to control our own destiny.
With the last question, please.
Coach, with that game against the Ospreys next, after these two losses, especially the one at home, how important is it now to make a statement?
One loss.
Yeah, one loss. Okay.
No, one loss because it's different teams. So you make out of different teams. They don't get affected. They don't get affected if they didn't play last week. You know what I mean? It's not like they walk around. So I get the feeling that it's one loss to this group. They've done really well. They'll get it right.
How important is it for the group now to have a statement win against those players?
We saw what Great College did when they lost to Jeppe. That's what good players do. The next week they went and gave Otaniqua 90. So it just showed you what sort of rugby culture we have in our country. And that's all I expect from them is next week, Monday, to arrive at work and to prepare as well as they can and make sure that they play as well as they can, because they would all agree that's not the way we can play. We can play better than that.
Thank you.